New York City FC 2, they're going to host a round of 16 match in Queens in the U.S. Open Cup following a cup set last night. As for the first team, simply put, they're going to try to solve their road woes. One road win since the beginning of the 2023 season, none in 2024. We're live. We're NYCFC Views.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer!
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And we were there at Belson Stadium, along with a host of others. It was like an all-star cast in the sporting department. Nick Cushing.
It was.
Stephen Lee, Sam Pugsley. Who am I leaving out?
Cushing.
Support staff. Didn't I say Nick Cushing?
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
David Lee.
I said no. I started with Cushing. You didn't hear me.
Okay.
Nettie Belushi.
Yes.
The whole first team staff was there, support staff. But it was nice as look, the two team, and it happened early. They end up winning their match over the Colorado Switchbacks, who had a pretty good turnout.
They did.
You know, there were at least 50 of them, I would say. Many of them Matthew Mahoney fans, as it turned out, or relatives, or a lot of Mahoney shirts. He was their starting right back and captain. Met the father, and it was nice to just chat about the Switchbacks a little bit before the game. But anyway, great win. Obviously, at this point, now they're the only MLS Next Pro team still alive. As the MLS teams entered the fray, 8 of them, and then Houston Dynamo, the defending champions, lose after they
penalty kicks.
Yeah, but
at home.
Yeah, at home, and they had a lead. So interesting. But then Sporting KC was down to Union Omaha, a League One Division III team like New York City FC 2, but then came back and won that game. But this was an upset last night. It's a Division III against Division II in the U.S. soccer framework. And JJ Jimenez, I mean, it really was a pretty spectacular goal. I mean, there was some phantom defending going on, but I think they were just afraid of taking him down in the area, you know? So he dribbled past 4 defenders and then nutmegs the keeper. I mean, right through the 5 hole. It's beautiful with the hockey playoffs upon us, and the Rangers doing so well, and the Knicks winning last night. What a night for New York City, you know?
It's every night has been a great night for New York City lately. It really has been. The thing about Jimenez, good old JJ, I've been there for the 2 games that I've been there, which is the win over the Red Bulls and then the win over the Switchbacks. He's got 4 goals. I'm his good luck charm, I have decided.
Okay, well,
it's that Mexico connection thing.
You better not miss a match then. And the next one is already set, May the 21st. And New York City's hosting the 2 team is the Baby Blues. What else are they called? Baby Blues is the one that sticks with me.
That's fine.
Yeah. And they've got New Mexico United, who beat RSL last night. We're talking about Major League Soccer teams getting ousted along with the Houston Dynamo. So that's going to be a tough one for sure. But we thought last night would be difficult, which, you know, it was not an easy win. And who knows? When you come into Belson, it probably takes you bare minimum a quarter of an hour as a player to get used to playing on that surface. You know, a little pregame warm-up's not going to get it done.
No, but I'll tell you something that may be beneficial is the fact that once the sun goes down, then you can't see the surface. So I don't know if it matters anymore.
Yeah, we got to get to Dave Mazur, man. They got to get new lights there. I mean, gosh, it is. I do
challenging.
I remember at Rutgers, our lights were starting to fade. It was a very interesting deal why we couldn't get new lights at that moment. But there were shadows in different parts of the field. like you would just like lose a player over in the corner.
It is what it is. It's,
Yeah.
it's the U.S. Open Cup.
No, and I think and we're gonna hear from Malachi Jones in a little bit. But when I think about, okay, they're playing at St. John's, it's artificial surface, the lighting's not good. But listen, man, let's just play.
And they did, and they played well. They did what they had to do, and they got a goal, and then they were able to protect it. They missed a few other chances that probably should have put away. Some controversial calls, at least from the switchback position, that they felt that they may have been slightly unjust just by the yells on the field and the fans screaming in the stands. But the referees seem to be close enough to the plays to be able to make a determination. There is no VAR, so it's old school.
Well, I think the defining moment in pregame is when the lineups were announced, and lo and behold, 18-year-old Jovan Mijatovic, first teamer, was getting his first start with the New York City Football Club, but with the 2 team. And Shane, when we were reviewing the cuts, I know I sent this to you. If you don't have it, you can put it in the notes. But I sent Nick Cushing talking about Jovan Mijatovic.
Mijatovic was better. That's
Mijatovic. Mijatovic.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, Mijatovic.
Mijatovic. Oh my gosh. Okay, Shane says he's got. So it's Mijatovic. I know I butchered that, and I shouldn't. So Jovan Mijatovic, and here's Nick with the explanation as to how this came about. What went into that decision, and then if you could evaluate what you saw.
Yeah, I think it's complex in the sense of Jovan went away and then was away for a period of time, so he didn't train with the team. He hasn't played a lot of football, as in game play, because of the ankle injury that he got when he was away with Serbia, and then he got an adductor injury. We started to really push him and really try and accelerate the process. The whole goal of anything we've done with Jovan over the last 2 weeks has been to get him ready to start a football game, to play 60, 70, 80, 90 minutes, not to just be a substitute that comes off the bench every 10 minutes. So we started trying to accelerate the training and the load. He picked up a slight adductor strain, so we ended up missing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Went back in on Friday, and I had a decision to make that was Jovan from the bench if we needed a goal, which we did, or put him in the training on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday prepare, Tuesday prepare to play 90 minutes in the Open Cup game. And I think, I made a strategic decision that would be the best decision for Jovan, to prepare him for Toronto, for Philly, or for Red Bull. There's no way that we roll the same 11. There's going to be rotation, and I want the opportunity to play Jovan. So he went in the Open Cup game, and yeah, I was impressed. You can see the real quality that he has. You can see the real hunger and desire that he has in and around the final third to create chances. I'm sure he'll be disappointed he didn't score, but that's a great marker for a number 9. But I think it was a great run out for him, and was in line with the plan that we have for Jovan to accelerate him.
Yeah, so it was more about just get 90 minutes. I mean, even you're certainly concerned about the performance, but it was really more game fitness than the performance even.
Yeah, I think we discussed this morning when we debriefed. The main aim was just to get minutes, to get the feel of the field underneath his feet, to get the touches on the ball, to get him, playing 11v11. He's not played so much in the last 6-8 weeks, right? And we want him to be in full rhythm. So to get any kind of gameplay, whether it's training or games, is hugely positive for him. And to get a game, it was a tough game against a really good Colorado team and a really competitive game. So it was the perfect opportunity.
All right, so executive decision, play Mijatovic 90 in this NYCFC 2 game rather than bring him off the bench, even though he might have been helpful down a goal to Colorado when things were really not happening.
Based on what we saw last night, Glenn. All right. Based on what we saw last night, I don't know how helpful he really would have been. I mean, he needs work. He needs to play. He needs the minutes. I mean, I'm looking at his stats. I mean, we looked at his overall game last night without having the stats, and we were talking about how he didn't seem to have much of an effect on the game. And now you come back and you start looking at it a little bit closer, and he had as many touches as he has birthdays. And I don't, part of it was being starved for service. Part of it was the way the game was being played, and New York played back quite a bit in this game. The stats say they had 47% of the possession, but didn't seem that way. It seemed like Colorado had a lot more of the ball than just that. And he had, as I said, 18 touches and no shots. It's hard to really get an evaluation based on what we saw. But I think more than that, I think the benefit of last night was just getting him playing and getting him into a game and getting him into 90 minutes. And obviously, if and when he comes on the field in Toronto in BMO Field, he'll have much better players surrounding him with better opportunities to get him the ball and in better positions. And maybe we'll be able to see a better performance, because all those things matter. So, Book is out. We'll see, what happens in Toronto, if he makes it in or not, or they wind up doing what they did, last time that he was available and they didn't play him and they put Alonso Martinez in for Bakrar.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. You get the impression he's going to get a start in one of these next 3 games, unless something goes wrong between now. And the next 3 games are Toronto on Saturday, Philadelphia midweek Wednesday. Those are both on the road, and then back to Yankee Stadium on Saturday for Red Bull New York. But
not Yankee, it's at Citi Field. First time ever Red Bull Arena.
Okay.
First time ever the Red Bulls at Citi Field.
So it's okay. Thank you for that correction. But it's TFC, Philadelphia, Red Bull New York, 3 games within an 8-day period. And the other player and I don't have this clip, but we're gonna hear from Malachi. But Malachi Jones could well get the nod in one of those 3 games too. Nick basically said, and he said this on the record, he's going to get one of those 3 games. So, we don't know which one it'll be, and I'm sure that's going to be decided based on who's playing around him as well. The Mijatovic situation is what it is, and they said it. 90 minutes, the most important thing. Get him to run around and get his feet wet and get game fitness is game fitness. You can never be game fit unless you're playing games. Period.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Speaking of which, as I was leaving the facility today, Talles Magno was walking out and going to his car, and I asked him how he's doing, and he said he's feeling great, and he's ready to play. So hopefully, he gets an opportunity to play. He's only featured, for a short stint in game 1 of the season, and he hasn't played since.
Yeah. 1 game, and it was the opener. It's really an incredible part of the New York City story this year, I think. Well, I'm Glenn Crooks. That's Roberto Abramowitz. We bring you the radio commentary. These Nick clips will be part of the conversation I had today with Nick that will air in its entirety on our pregame show, live commentary, 7:15 this Saturday night from BMO Field. Roberto and Ariel both on at the same time with their pregame. And who did you speak with?
I spoke with Agustino Gela. And that was my first chance to speak to him. Very soft-spoken. I mean, to the point of where I almost had to put my phone into his mouth to be able to get volume. It's so soft-spoken. One of the questions I did ask him about was about his nickname, which is Trapito. And I had spoken to Ariel before he even arrived, and he had said that, in some versions of Trapito, it could be a non-positive description of somebody. And I asked him about that, and he says, no, I like the nickname. It's okay. It's good. So Trapito it is. So we will...
what does it mean?
Well, Trapito basically means like a little rag. That's what it is, like a little rag. That's what it is. And he's not a very big guy either. But, every country... has words that, while in, let's say, Mexico, where I grew up, may not have a negative connotation, it may have a negative connotation in a different country. And when you're doing, for instance, like I did for 25 years, working at ESPN, and you're broadcasting not only to the United States, but to Mexico and to all of Central and South America, you got to be sort of a little bit careful about what words you use, because it may be something fine in Argentina and okay in Chile, but you've insulted somebody in Bolivia.
Yeah.
So it's you got to be a little bit careful. So we decided, when he came here, we knew about the nickname, but I haven't really had a chance to speak to him until today. And so I asked him about it, and he's like, "Yeah, go.
Okay.
I'm all in."
And that'll air at 7:15, correct?
That is yes, within the 7:15
in your pregame
in my pregame show. Yes.
Yeah, in the pregame show. Okay, good. U.S. Open Cup. Did you know that they won? The team earned $25,000, 25.
Yes, I found out about it today. I found out today. My friend Leo Glickman told me about it, which was pretty amusing. About an hour ago, I ran into him on the street, and he says he's going to go to the next game, which is interesting. But he'll be rooting for New Mexico, I'm sure.
Well, Jimenez now with 4 goals in 3 games, as Roberto said. The game of the night, though, no matter how we slice it, was the Tampa Bay Rowdies beating Birmingham 6-4. Birmingham trailed 4-0 with 81 minutes gone by, and they scored 4 to force overtime or extra time, as we were discussing last night. But and then Tampa scored 2 in the extra session.
Oh my God! So they scored. Listen to this. I'm looking at this now. They scored in the 82nd minute, the 89th minute, the 3rd minute of stoppage time, and then the 6th minute of stoppage time on a penalty. And by the way, that game was played in Tampa. Yep. And then Arteaga and Moon 101 and 109 scored the goals. They had 2,195 at Al Lang Stadium, right in front of the Dalí Museum in Tampa.
Well, that was
the way the Dalí Museum there is fantastic. Anybody who ever goes to a Rowdies game, get there really, really early and go to the Dalí Museum. It is awesome.
All right. Well, I just up 4-0 and losing that lead and still winning the game. That's pretty wild.
That is
wild. So that's again May 21st. That's a Tuesday night, and I guess we would just say, and one thing we've noticed, for instance, New Mexico United beat RSL, and they played that at Isotope Park, which is the home of New Mexico United. They normally get 10,000. They only had 5 plus. So there's something about these U.S. Open Cup midweek games. You would think, playing an MLS team, you'd get more. So I don't know what we can do to get more people out to the game on Tuesday, the 21st. But the turnout was disappointing. I mean, to me,
and a beautiful night.
Yeah, it was such a nice night. But I mean, the supporters that were there were loud and proud.
Yeah,
it was, and there was a decent group, but it seems to me, boy, 2,000 means you packed the place. So
right, and there were not 2,000 there.
No,
there weren't. But kudos to everybody who did make it there. Give them credit. And it's a shame that the supporters, their tickets were $5. I mean, but I also understand that it's not really easy to get to St. John's for what I know. I mean, I drive, so I don't know, how the subways work. But for what I was being told, there's not a lot of subway service.
I did not drive my first few times to St. John's when I was doing some games there, and it's a nightmare, mass transit nightmare. I don't like hopping on the bus. That's part of it too. I just want to take the tube. Give me the tube to a place where I can walk 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then I'm there. I like that. But
you don't like the bus?
No. I like the tube.
That's in England. We call it the subway here.
Well, and I saw the Airbnb I stayed in last night had this big poster of the entire transit system in New York City from 1925. It was pretty damn cool.
That was cool.
Showing the lines that were still being constructed and what was there. And at the City Field, it was 20,000 plus, right?
Yes.
I forget the exact numbers, or was it 19 something?
I think it was 19 something.
Yeah, 19 something for the Colorado win over New York City. Colorado snapping New York City's 5-game unbeaten run, snapping their run of 3 consecutive wins, and now New York City's got to go on the road for the next 3 out of 4.
I will give you the attendance
on Charlotte. Okay, well, that's not that big a deal. It's not 19,000 something. I think one thing of note as we bring up Mounsef Bakrar one more time, Enzo Capetti became the last regular striker of the other 28 teams that finally scored a goal for Charlotte. So Bakrar right now really is sitting all by his lonesome as the only regular starting striker in the league to not score a goal.
All right, I got the numbers.
Yeah, so just review the numbers and look. They're not good, but and then I'll play another clip from Nick regarding Bakrar, and
yes.
I think
because there's a lot of positives. There's a lot of positives in all the things that he does, that are part of his responsibility. And we spoke about this last time.
Yeah, except what you're going to read.
Except for what I'm going to read. All right, so he had 3 shots, none on goal. 2 of them were blocked by defense in 67 minutes against Colorado. So in all competitions since he arrived here last year, 4 goals in 23 games. Last year in MLS, 3 goals in 10 MLS games. So far in 2024, no goals in 10 games. He has 33 shots, 10 on target, 2 posts in 814 minutes in 2024. He's on a 16-game goalless streak. His last goal was against Orlando City, September 20th, 2023. And his total since his last goal now is up to 1,815 minutes. And we hope he breaks this streak and ends it Saturday against Toronto.
Well, in talking to Nick, so I'll play the clip here. And the way I kind of introed it with him was I had sent Nick a clip of an interview I did with a guy named Niall Quinn, who is a former Republic of Ireland, Arsenal, Man City, and Sunderland forward. He's a pretty legendary figure in the game and a great goal scorer. But I told him the story of Bakrar during the interview because we were talking about how to maintain a positive outlook and he through slumps. And he goes, "Oh, I've been there." And one of the things he said is the confidence that the coach had in me helped me get out of it. The fact that I knew he was behind me and knew he saw everything going on. But he also said, I've had more than one slump in my life. He said, maybe even more effective was being put on the bench and stewing on the bench for like 70 minutes and be able to watch things and then come off and then break your slump that way. So there's those are 2 choices. And here's what Nick had to say about Bakrar.
Mounsef right now.
I'm still in the same place. I have complete confidence in his ability to score. I am really pleased with his progression in all of the metrics, moments, situations, whatever we want to describe it, outside of scoring, his pressing intensity, his forward running, his work rate for the team, his ability to get into the moment is exceptional. That's why he's getting so many, right? But we have a 3-game week, so it's unlikely he's going to play 3 for 3. So there is a moment for him to sit, and I agree that could be the most positive moment for him. It could be where the moment exists in the sense of coming off the bench, but he also is going to play in this 3-game stretch. He's by no means out of the team and will not be because he makes our team better, whether we see that or not. The goals, I agree, have to come, and the work at that has to continue. But the one thing I can confirm is, you watch our training, the guy works like an animal at his finishing.
So one of these 3 games, at least, he's not going to start. And you would think that would be the opportunity for Mijatovic to get his start. So it's just a matter of which game that's going to be.
Absolutely. And it's the right thing to do. I mean, you can't. You've got to be able to rotate your squad. Any team in the world is going to do this. And, hopefully they don't need to do it as a motivation. Hopefully he ends the slump in Toronto and, things get better for New York City. They haven't won in their last 3 games in Toronto, losing 2 and tying 1, although they won their last 3 games against Toronto. But all of those were in the New York area. And when I mean in the New York area, they were in 3 different stadiums. So, it's going to be an interesting game because now this time it's New York City that gets the first game between the 2 teams, and so now it's revenge time in BMO.
That was New York City's only win in the opening 7 matches of the season, so that was a pretty critical, much needed performance to beat Toronto. And we remember Kevin O'Toole's lone MLS goal from Julian Fernandez. It was a wonderful headed strike for the game winner. for New York City FC. Roberto, before I forget, this is going to be disjointed and certainly not in sequence here. But one thing I forgot to say about this New York City FC 2 team that won last night.
Yeah.
Look at how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 teenagers started in the game. So we've been talking about Mijatovic, 18 years old. Maximo Carrizo, 16. Jonathan Shore, 17. Andrew Baera, 17. Christian McFarlane, 17. Alexander Housechild, the central defender, 18 years old. That's, I like the sound of that too.
I love the sound of that, because that's really what NYCFC 2 should be all about, right? And then you sprinkle in some veterans around, or at least some slightly older players and all that have experience, because you can't just roll out a whole bunch of kids, against teams, and in some cases, like last night, that have veterans that are close to 30 years old, right? Because you need people to settle them down and who've been through some situations before. But you want to play that many kids because this is what this team is about. It's about developing players, giving them an opportunity to playing already in the system that the big team is playing. So when you do get called up, you're not like, oh, wait, what are we doing here? You already know what your role is. So there's so many positives. And I love this, because this is how you're going to start developing players. I mean, look, Justin Hack got his chance that way, and he came in and he contributed quite a bit. We've seen other players do the same thing. And so you want to be able to see more kids being able to play. And once they come in and start performing for the first team, hopefully killing it.
Yeah. And we should say congratulations to Matt Pilkington, head coach, Danny Sapero, who's his assistant, and, the job they're doing preparing the team for each one of these. Malachi Jones has played twice with New York City FC 2. He played in an MLS Next Pro match, played 90 minutes. And then he played in the U.S. Open Cup as well. So and that's where he got his first and only professional goal up to this point.
Sweet strike too, by the way.
Yeah, just a little dink over the keeper. The keeper moved down. I mean, it was a very clever finish. And that was against the Red Bulls. So it was a 4-2 result against the Red Bulls to advance. And so I sat with Malachi today, and I want to play. I'm going to play 2 clips. I haven't been able to put this up yet on Frame, the other podcast I do. We had Matt Freeze on last week, and I hope a lot of people got a chance to listen to that. I thought it was, just great to get to know Matt a little bit more about what he thinks about. And same with Malachi Jones. His story has been documented amongst the supporters and people who follow the game, that born in Sierra Leone, moved to the States when he was about 9 years old, and was living in an orphanage with his 6 brothers and 1 sister. So there were 8 of them, and a family in North Carolina, in Tennessee, in Nashville, Tennessee. And Mike and Haley Jones adopted all 8 children. And it just, it's
amazing.
It's just a really, really crazy story. And they had to wait. They first met the kids. He tells the story. They first met the kids in Sierra Leone 3.5 years before the adoption actually went through. I mean, the process for adoption sometimes is just, in some ways, mind-boggling. His biological mother is still alive. His biological father, you're going to hear about him, and it's an unfortunate thing. But his mother is still alive and still living there, but she knew that this was best for her children to come to the States, be educated here, and be taken care of. So it's quite a story. And here's Malachi just talking about growing up in Sierra Leone.
And it's a very different lifestyle. It's a very tough one, but I think a lot of it sort of helped get me to where I am today with the mindset that I have. I felt that the orphanage was a little hut village we lived in. I knew everybody in the area. You kind of grew what you needed. You traded for what you didn't have but needed. And so it was on one of these sort of expeditions that my dad we had grown some rice and just some different food at the village, and he went on a little journey to trade for what we needed. And on this journey, the boat flipped over that he was in, and he drowned and passed away from it. And so kind of our way of life kind of became harder, just because there was not a man to provide. And sort of that culture, the man was responsible for kind of the well-being of the family. And without him in the picture, it made life tougher, especially for a big family like mine. But also, it wasn't very uncommon to have big families there because more kids meant more hands to help around. And so we kind of we tried to navigate through all of that for a year with just my mom and 7 of my siblings. And, it was tough, and we were making it work, but it just was not the best situation. This was kind of the life that I grew up in.
Yeah. So interesting, this
Oh,
orphanage.
so sorry.
It's like, imagine that everybody's kind of growing food for each other. They share, like trade for money also, but also helping each other. I mean, it's just, and then the way they played the game was barefoot, no soccer balls. They just made them out of whatever they could. And that leads us to this next part. So I'll play one more clip and then encourage everybody to listen to the full interview, because he also talks about the present, what's going on with New York City FC as well. But he has an older brother, Michael. And the story about him when he first joined the high school team in Tennessee is pretty amusing in a way, but it gives you an idea of what was going on in Sierra Leone. But I entitle this clip "Backyard Soccer."
Backyard soccer, right? Do you credit some of the things that we've seen you do from that experience?
Oh, 100%. I've also had just great coaches and mentors along the way to kind of help sharpen all of those skills. But I think for the most part, a lot of it started with backyard. When we weren't doing school or going on trips, we were playing backyard soccer. That was our way of entertainment. You'd see us during the summers out there for 3 to 4 hours, and then it's like, let's take a break. All right, let's go out again and do it again. And in the heat of the day, it didn't matter. We were out there because we enjoyed it.
I think one of the my favorite stories that Dave DeFada, your high school coach from Grace Christian School, told about your brother was you had arrived. He came into training for the high school. You were younger, but he was right into the high school. After one practice, he wanted to take his shoes off because apparently he had played barefoot or without shoes like his entire time in Sierra Leone. Didn't have a real soccer ball. I mean, these things that we don't even consider sometimes. Your coach Dave said, "No, you're gonna have to wear the boots." But
Yeah, I mean, Michael was always one that, I mean, he spent the longest time there, so he very much knew the culture a lot more, and kind of he knew the environment. He was used to certain things that, for me, it was easier for me to adapt just because I was younger and hadn't spent as much time there. And so the shoe story is, I mean, it sounds like Michael. It sounds like his way of kind of doing things. It's this is how I've done it. It's worked before.
That's awesome.
I mean, just it's really, really wild. Well, this is a young man who is a man of faith. The Spirit drives him, and you'll learn all about him. I spent about 25 minutes with him, and hopefully everybody gets a chance to listen.
I only got to listen to the last 5 minutes of your interview with him, and then got a chance to speak to him for a couple of minutes and all. I'm just so impressed, just blown away about how nice and bright and cheerful he is. I mean, he just brings light into any room that he moves, and he does that on the soccer field as well. And we got a chance to ask Nick Cushing, how do you balance encouraging him to go one-on-one, which he wants to do, and to try things and to be aggressive, when also at the same time not abuse it, and then know when to play back and know when to play, and because it's a fine line, right, of how to encourage somebody, because you want them to be aggressive and you want them to try things out. So Nick basically agreed with that, and and how he's working with him to be able to achieve. It doesn't happen in one session or anything, but it's going to be a work in progress that way. And, he's got so much skill and speed and all these great things. You just love to see him on the field, and, let's see what he can do.
Well, Nick more than intimated that he's going to get a game here soon. So probably within these next 3. And when that happens, let's see what happens when he gets an extended look. 35 minutes off the bench against Colorado. That's his longest first team performance. Malachi Jones selected 8th overall in the MLS draft. Tyrese Spicer, his teammate at Lipscomb, who was the number 1 pick overall. So imagine Lipscomb University had 2 guys selected in the first round of the MLS draft. But they may go head-to-head this weekend. They might get a chance to, and I mean close to each other on the field. Spicer is a wing. Malachi's a wing. Spicer, we've seen him on the right and left. Malachi would probably be on the left. We'll see if he gets a chance. But he said that's the game he's very much looking forward to. So we'll see what happens as New York City goes to Toronto. All right, Roberto, let's kick it around. What do you say? Well, this really is quite a story out of the Philadelphia Union. 14 years old, Kevin Sullivan, and it is pronounced Kevin. And the reason I know that is Bridget Sullivan, who I recruited when I was at Long Island University in Brooklyn. She's a Philadelphia girl. I got clarification. It's her cousin. And
All right.
She's one of the Sullivans. Quinn Sullivan is her cousin. And yeah, so they're all, it's a big family, that Sullivan family. And he, at 14 years old, he has signed the richest homegrown deal in the history of MLS through 2028. And when he turns 18, this was not in the Philadelphia Union press release, but this is what those in the know are writing, is that he'll then become the property of Manchester City in the part of the City Football Group. So that's down the road a little bit. I guess he doesn't have an international passport where he can go over and hang out. So he's got to wait till he's 18.
There you go. I forgot what it was. I read someplace where he's like the number 1 young prospect in the world. I mean,
that could be.
I mean, like, hello, that is amazing.
Yeah, it is. So this one has been reported on for a couple of weeks, but Philadelphia made it official today. And
I got to make sure that was number 1, or or maybe the list was backwards and it was 1 to 10, and he was like number 8 or 9 or something like that. That might be. But
well, we do know, as far as numbers go, that New York City FC is number 20 according to Sportico in the world's most valuable soccer clubs. I know you saw this report, Roberto.
I did not.
The revenue figures. And the way they're broken down, 3 categories: broadcast, commercial, and match day. And when you consider that New York City will no longer in 2027 have to pay $1 million a game to play their matches at Yankee Stadium, and then can have all the parking, all the concession, all that stuff would be theirs ostensibly in 2027. It's probably going to go up a little bit more, but 5 clubs from MLS in the top 20, 20 MLS clubs in the top 50. And so the theory behind, so you would ask, well, MLS teams, what's the deal
there?
The
valuations are nuts.
Well,
they really are.
MLS clubs are boosted. This is directly from Sportico. MLS clubs are boosted by factors such as cost controls, modern stadiums, and single entity structure that fosters ownership collaboration.
The salary cap.
That's a little, that's a dangerous statement. Ownership collaboration.
Well, that's the salary cap, right? Yeah. The fact that they can control costs that way. And look, we're the ones that are advocating all the time that the salary cap has got to be loosened. So for the teams to be able to compete, more closely or better, especially in things like the CONCACAF Champions Cup. But guess what happened? In the CONCACAF Champions Cup, the Columbus Crew made the final against Pachuca after tying Tigres and then beating them in penalty kicks, and then going up and beating Monterrey over there in BBVA, their giant of steel, their steel giant, El Gigante de Acero. That's how their stadium is known colloquially, and beating them there. And by the way, beating them 3-1. And so the Columbus Crew right now is standing as the top team in all of CONCACAF, in the World Cup, the World Club rankings.
Yeah.
The Columbus Crew is rated number 1, Pachuca number 2, and like the rest of the list is basically all Mexican teams. But the Columbus Crew is number 1. So congrats to the Crew, congrats to Wilfred Nancy, and to everybody who's made that team number 1 in CONCACAF. Now they just have to go and beat Pachuca over there in La Bella in Pachuca.
June 1st, 9:15 p.m. It was supposed to be on June 2nd, but there's some sort of Mexican holiday?
No, it's a Mexican election. It's a presidential election.
Oh, that's sort of a
And
holiday.
it's it is a federal holiday in Mexico.
Yeah.
It used to be in July. They used to vote in July. Now they brought it back to June. I don't know why. But yeah, that's a presidential election, so they decided not to interfere with that. Probably a good move.
The absence of relegation from MLS also adds stability to MLS valuations. Again, this is all according to Sportico, and increases the floor of income levels. And then the evaluation, of course, boosted by this 10-year deal with Apple and Lionel Messi coming on board, and then the World Cup in 2026 here in the States, Club World Cup. A lot going on, and
Leagues Cup.
That's valuations. Man, at 20 in the top 50, but it's they don't get all the specific figures from the teams. They kind of have to. This is definite minutia in trying to figure out value. But people smarter than me. I'm just reading what the sport.
Well, MLS teams are easier than most as far as salary cap is concerned, because you get to see exactly what they spend, which that doesn't happen in the rest of the world. Over there, it's like a good guessing game. An intelligent guessing game. They have a pretty decent ideas.
Another thing, Roberto, is there's two things here. Did you see Charles Boehm retweet of World Soccer Talk on a quote from Gianni Infantino? Well, his quote, FIFA President Gianni Infantino, the quote, "We have to stop pay-to-play soccer in the United States." And Charles,
I don't applaud FIFA very much, but I'll take that one.
And then Charles Boehm went, ah ha ha ha, like all these ah ha ha's. FIFA, who systematically, this is Charles Boehm now.
Yeah.
FIFA, who systematically vacuum billions of dollars in tax-free profits out of every nation that hosts their events, and will dial up that process to 11 here in 2026, suddenly care about pay-to-play youth soccer? Someone must have slipped mescaline into my coffee. Charles is right.
FIFA is nonprofit.
Charles is one of the foremost writers in the United States of America on the soccer side of things, and he is. That was funny. I thought I'd share that. And
I mean, he's right. He is right. But Infantino isn't wrong on that. Okay, but I don't know how you stop it here. I mean, I just don't know all the things that they do between the pay for pay, the play for pay or pay for play, and charging thousands and thousands of dollars for kids to quote unquote learn soccer, which really isn't what's happening for the most part. And then they have all these tournaments forcing parents, to spend thousands of dollars on either driving or flying and hotels and all these things. And all these tournaments are making, the guys who organize these tournaments are making a lot of money. Look, I'm not against people making money and all that, but that's not how you're going to find or develop the best players in the world. I mean, you're just not doing that. If that's what we want to become, as far as a soccer playing nation, a nation that develops really good players, a la Christian Pulisic and Gio Reyna and Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams and all these guys that are doing great in the U.S. national team system. And were brought up within, soccer here in the United States. But that's not the way to do it. It just isn't. You're not doing it. And it's costing people thousands and thousands of dollars. There's got to be a different way. And maybe somebody will be able to change this somewhere along the line. Give kids an alternative.
Yeah, not in our lifetime. Sorry, Roberto. I mean, too many people are making money, coaches. And, I'm a product of it at PDA. I got paid to coach my team, and people pay.
No, I get it.
But, and I look at it as, did it help them along the way? Did it help them? And that's why the job as a coach, you're getting paid, but it's not just about getting them to college. It's not just about giving them an opportunity on the professional level. It's about developing them as people, working within in a team unit, being able to go out and when they do get out into the world, they can work with a team. I think all those things. What is the value of that? Is it thousands of dollars? I don't know. I do know that I just talked to a hockey parent recently. $10,000 to $20,000 a year they pay.
Yeah, they got it worse.
They've
got it worse for sure. But facilities are much more expensive. Equipment is much more expensive aside from everything else. So that makes it a little bit understandable. Not that I'm saying that I agree with it, but also here's something else, Glenn. And I'm not doing this to butter you up and all that. But there aren't that many coaches in the United States, and we're talking percentage-wise, okay, that have your quality. I mean, they just aren't. I mean, I mean, I saw it when I had my son playing soccer in an academy here, and I saw the type of coaching that he was getting and other kids were getting, and it left a lot to be desired when you start prioritizing results, because that gives you fame as far as either you as a coach, right? Look at what I did, right? Or the academy itself. Look at all the trophies we've got. Bring your kid here to play.
Yeah.
We will teach. Teaching them to win isn't the same as teaching them how to play. There's been a lot of great players who never won a damn thing in youth soccer who are playing professionally, and thriving. So, winning isn't everything. Not at that level. Definitely not at that level. Learning how to play is. Learning certain moves is. Learning how to be able to play out of the back or being able to beat somebody one-on-one. And I don't see enough of that being taught. And that's why when you go and you see all these South American players or all these players that come from poor countries, and they're desperate and all that, and they know how to do this because they played in the street and they didn't have people telling them what to do all the time. They were able to allow their natural talent to develop because nobody was saying, "Don't do that, pass the ball." It's a different story.
Back to Malachi Jones and the blending of allowing him to do these things that he did in the backyard or in the dirt when he was 7 years old or 8 years old in Sierra Leone, versus understanding the complexities of the unit, game models, how we play here, and it's not easy. It's
got to be a balance, right? There's got to be a balance in that, because obviously there's a lot to learn as far as how to play, as part of a team and how to play in a system and understand a system and how a system works. But at the same time, it's also really important to be able to develop any and every sort of skill that you can have, that you can beat somebody one-on-one, that you can, curve the ball, in a certain way, to take free kicks and things like that. That sometimes just aren't taught because they're not prioritized, as opposed to we're playing this system and we're playing 2-touch or playing 1-touch, and that this is all we're doing. You want to see guys be encouraged to take people on one-on-one.
Well, regarding Malachi, he admitted and Nick also said the same thing, that he because I don't know how you've seen it, but there have been several opportunities when he's gotten the ball wide isolated to really just try to skin the player there, or use his pace a little bit more, and there was a tentative quality to it, and he admitted that he's not 100% confident to do it yet, and Nick admitted that in his individual development plan, the IDPs that they have, that's part of the growing process here too. But I have this feeling when he gets that start, whenever it is, he's going to be running at people if he gets that opportunity. The team also has to set him. The team has to set him up that way. So how about Champions League? Real Madrid amazingly advance, but Bayern.
Okay.
So I did not see the game because I was in the car, but I listened to it on Sirius XM, and so I'm listening to it, and then I'm listening to this last goal that was scored, and then was taken off the board at the 120th minute by Dalit for Bayern, and it was ruled offside. So here's Thomas Tuchel after the game. I don't know if you saw this, Roberto.
I did.
Said that the referee's assistant apologized to him for raising the flag prematurely, because nowadays, if it's close, you keep the flag down and then let whatever transpires, in this case, the goal, then you can raise the flag and then it'll go to VAR. And, that's the Christine Uncle was on the one of the CBS shows this morning. And she said not only the assistant referee, but the referee also erred, because he didn't have to blow his whistle, because what happened is the flag went up, the referee blew the whistle, the ball went in the back of the net, but because the whistle was blown, it cannot be reviewed. Oh my word.
Yeah, exactly. His name is Simona Marcinak, is a referee who by the way, had done a really good job up until the 120th minute. Or whatever that was not 120th, but whatever it was, the 12th minute of stoppage time.
Listen to me for a second. Let me just interject. This Polish team did the World Cup final. You got it?
Yeah.
These guys are high level, man.
Well, and that's what that's part of the argument, right? There are a lot of people saying, right, that I was reading, well, they got intimidated by the atmosphere, by the Real Madrid fans. And I was like, that they got guys there. They got this is an important game. They're not just it's a semifinal of the Champions League. They're not just putting some, Joe Blow in there. They're putting some of the best referees that they can find for these games. So they're not intimidated by the stadium, or at least they shouldn't be. And I don't think that they were. I just think they made a mistake. And it was it's just a brutal, costly mistake. Yeah, because the guy who heads the ball, okay, he's right next to another guy. I don't know the names right now. Okay. There are two guys for Bayern that are going up, when the ball is crossed. And the guy who heads it back is a guy who's not offside, or at least seems not to be offside. The guy who was offside doesn't touch the ball, so he's not in play. But it really seemed, based on the replays, that I saw, and they didn't draw the lines or anything, because there was nothing, there's nothing to do there, was that I thought that he was onside and definitely had to be a VAR review there. But there couldn't be a VAR for the reasons that you explained. The linesman raised his flag, which he never should have, and the referee blew his whistle, which he never should have. Yeah. So you had two mistakes compounding, and that meant that that goal, doesn't count. Now, also, because of the fact that the whistle was blown, you don't know if the defense and the goalie actually stop playing for an instant, because they hear the whistle and maybe they, they'll just like relax for a second. Yep. And if that had anything to do with the goal, there's so many variables in all of this.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it really feels like Bayern got screwed.
Yeah. Hey, just a couple more things, Roberto, before we wrap. May 25th. Let's celebrate. It's World Football Day, or World Soccer Day, if you happen to be in this country or in Canada. And this proclamation from the United Nations. I mean, this is no. So it's world. So May. I don't know if it's May 25th every year. I don't know. I don't even know. But it's May 25th is World Football Day. So we can now celebrate our great game. And then I suppose the moment. There were a lot of great moments yesterday. JJ Jimenez scoring the goal to have the NYCFC 2 advance to the round of 16, the U.S. Open Cup. Wonderful moment. Great celebration. But Josh Hart for the Knicks going over to the table where the broadcast team was set up, which included Reggie Miller. I don't think there's a player more hated at the Garden than Reggie Miller from his days with Indiana. And he leaned down, and I only saw the social media clip, Roberto. You saw it live, I think, right?
Yeah.
So the mic on the sideline picked it up, and he basically confirmed to Reggie that said, yes, the crowd is indeed saying F you. That's to you, sir. I couldn't believe that.
It was funny. It was really a funny moment. Josh Hart's brilliant. I mean, he really is. And for him to go over there and get a laugh out of that. So it wasn't him telling Reggie Miller that. It was just like, oh, by the way, yes, if you think this is what the crowd is saying, yeah, it's definitely F you. And they both got a laugh out of it. And look, Reggie loves it. He loves being the villain in Madison Square Garden. As he likes to say, I used to own the place. And look, back in 1994, I was at the Garden covering the Knicks when, all the craziness, happened, the 8 points in 8 seconds and all those great, conference games between the Knicks and the Indiana Pacers, and the ones against the Bulls, and then the final against Houston, and then the other final 5 years later against the San Antonio Spurs. I was there for all of that. It was like an incredible moment. But what the Knicks are doing now, as shorthanded as they are, and playing with the heart that they've displayed, it's just amazing drama every single time that they take the court, and everybody loves it. And look, the reason we bring this up also is because New York City FC, it seems like everybody is just absolutely riveted by what's going on with the Knicks. And so, and led, by the way, by O'Toole, who, like, after every Knick victory, comes into the dressing room with the Knick gear on. So, and he and I have bantered a little bit on social media, with the fact that what the Knicks are doing, because it's just fantastic. And as somebody who calls the NBA, and has called a couple of Knick games so far, it's just wild. It's just amazing. I just wish I was at the Garden to be able to call these games as opposed to a studio in Secaucus, New Jersey. But, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But even that way, you can still feel the electricity that is pouring through in Madison Square Garden. And look, the Knicks have been in 7 close games, meaning games that are within 5 points with 5 minutes or less. They're 6-1. They're 6-1 in these games. And so it has just been absolutely, fantastic. So, and tonight the Rangers play.
I was gonna say,
and the Rangers have been just as crazy coming from behind.
We're not gonna get a deep dive in the Rangers, maybe next time, but they're on in about an hour. So if you game 3, they're up 2-0. The Knicks are up 2-0. So and this is the kind of stuff in the city. It drives the city. New York City FC should be behind these guys, and hopefully there's some reciprocation along the way too from these other clubs that play in New York. All right,
because right now our only champions is Gotham FC. Those are our only champions right now.
You mean current, like live?
Yeah,
champion.
Current. Yes.
Yeah, current. Okay. And
only right. That's hence right now. But yes.
Yeah. And then New York City, when they won it in 2021, gets ignored.
Those are the last 2.
Well, they get ignored completely, and Gotham Gotham gets ignored even more. It's getting there. It's getting there. We'll see what happens. We'll see.
We got to make this. We got to make the NYCFC views more popular, and then that way, we'll get more traction.
We'll bang it out there. We'll keep doing these things. See, every now, we get notes saying, we just stumbled onto you. I said, okay, let's just keep it going. share the news. NYC Views live. We're live every week now, Roberto. So 7:15. So let's review. 6 o'clock, Roberto and Ariel will do their live preview stream. So be sure to watch that. And then Maddie and I will do ours at 6:45. So again, we do these pregame live stream. Pretty cool stuff, I think, and get a chance to talk about the game a little bit and clips, highlights, all the different things. Then 7:15 is our live commentary, which starts with our pregame shows. I've got Nick Cushing. Roberto has Augustine Ojeda as part of the pregame show, and then kickoff 7:40 up there at BMO in Toronto. So
love that place.
Yeah, great.
By the way, bring gear. It's not going to be very warm, and they've already told us that we're outside on the platform and we're not in a booth.
Yep.
But the platform says pretty good viewing. That's what we did last time. Both of us were out on the platform. Are we sticking to the same ones, or do we want to switch this time?
I don't even remember. We'll have to wait.
Well, you were on the right side. I was on the left.
Well, did New York City win or lose?
They lost.
All right, so
but we had nothing to do with it.
But we should switch.
We had nothing to do with it.
We should still switch because what are you going to do?
I'm not superstitious at all. look at it. What are the chances they're going to lose twice because of that?
And there's also a person in the, how do I put this, in the sporting department in a prominent position that claims he might try to figure out how to wear some Knicks gear, maybe at the game this weekend. We'll see. I'm not sure how that could be sorted out. As long as it's Adidas, I guess it'll be fine by the league. I don't know.
It's not. if it's current, it's not.
Yeah,
but he's got to get some of the retro Knicks stuff. I think like 10 years ago or so, I think Adidas was the sponsor. So that would be okay.
Somebody get the gaffer some Adidas gear. All right.
All right. Now you went and said who it was.
Well, no, I mean it could be any of the former gaffers.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, if I'm in trouble, I'm in trouble. I don't think so.
Again.
Yeah. All right. For Roberto Abramowitz, I'm Glenn Crooks. Thanks so much for watching. And this has been your live NYCFC views. Just one other thing. May 21st is the U.S. Open Cup round of 16, where New York City FC 2 is hosting New Mexico United of the USL Championship. Okay, that's it. Good night, everybody.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.